Hi, my name is Michael Thorpe. Thanks for coming out. My project and research, I looked into successful companies and how they mold our culture. And then I made a website to influence the culture around me and like my environment. So for the research portion, I read 3 books. They are Design-Driven Innovation and Successful Habits for Visionary Companies and How to Change the World. How to Change the World was more of a book about how to influence people. So it didn't really go into my paper and stuff that much. But Design-Driven Innovation was very, it was very informational. It was written by a man called Roberto Verganti, and he had a concept about how interpreters, how they influence products. So an interpreter is almost a human being, to be exact. It goes from anybody from an average consumer to a scientist, and they look at products and give their opinion about products. When you see a television set, what goes into a television set? The size of it, where it's going to be in the house, the sound quality, the picture quality. And people, when say Sony makes a television set, they don't have all the people to think about all these things. They only have mostly people who like make the product. So they need to go out and get interpreters to see, they go to like architects to see how it will look on a wall. They go to, I don't know, they go to eyeglassware to get the perfect glass for the optics to see the great picture. There's a ton of interpreters. That was his concept, and I really liked that concept. In the other book of Successful Habits for Visionary Companies was written by Jim Collins, and he had 2 concepts that really influenced what I did in my work. His big concept was called BRAGs, and they're called Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals. And this concept is where these visionary companies, but they're not visionary yet, they're kind of like there, they've been successful, but they're not really, really successful. They take this leap of faith, per se, and it's this leap of faith that could potentially destroy their whole entire company. But they get all the employees and they take a leap. The one example I'll use is Boeing. They are a manufacturer for military planes back before they became this whole industry to make passenger planes. But before this, they decided they wanted to make a passenger plane. So they didn't want to just make a passenger plane that everybody else was having. They wanted to make a jet-propelled passenger plane. And this was never heard of. So they put all their workforce into this plane. It was called the Boeing 747. And if this plane crashed, they could have lost everything. They put all their finances into this. So, but the plane did not crash, and it was very successful. And then now there's so many 747s and planes like this, it revolutionized how we travel. So that is a brag. It was a huge brag. Another concept that I really that was influenced my work in the Successful Habits for Visionary Companies is what is called a cult-like cultures. And this is where in these companies that they have such a strict, almost like employees have to do, they have a strict guideline for employees that you have to do this if you're going to work here, and if you're not, you got to get out, because they have this idea and this focus that they don't want people to mess with. So the example I use is Disney. Disney back when they had their first amusement park and when they were making animated films, they had an employee which every employee was almost identical. They were either a white Caucasian, they had brown or blonde hair, and they usually had blue eyes, which is scary to think about that they went that specific. But to make it like that is so everybody in the entire company was thinking the same way, acting the same way, and so when they did something, every employee did it to the fullest. And it's almost a scary thought, but it makes stuff work. So that was another concept. That was really my bulk of my research in my paper. So, and then after that, after I had all these ideas of how company works, I wanted to do some case studies. So I took the 4, I believe, most influential companies of my time, which were Nike, Google, Facebook, and Apple. And obviously in all these companies, you see these concepts that Verganti and Collins talked about. But I was thinking, I was talking to Mr. McGrath and Mr. Carnosi, and they're like, all right, you got these concepts from other people, and you see it in the companies, but what do you see in the companies? How do these companies, how are they special, unique, and blah, blah, blah. So I thought, I was looking at them, and I think nowadays it's huge in branding. And in these 4 companies, you see that the brand is everything. They take a piece of the marketplace and brand it. Like, when you talk about MP3 players nowadays, you don't talk about, oh, what kind of MP3 player do you have? You're like, oh, do you have an iPod? Or, oh, do you have, it doesn't matter if it's from Target or if it's an Apple iPod. It's like, oh, do you have an iPod? Or when you're talking about sneakers nowadays, you're like, oh, I like your pair of Nikes, even if they're like a knockoff pair of Nikes or even a pair of Reeboks. Some people say, oh, I like your pair of Nikes. And when you think about searching on the on the internet, there's so many search engines, but everybody uses Google. Google it is like an expression nowadays. You're like, oh, well, what's that author from 1916? I don't know, I'll just Google it. So, and then this, from these successful companies, these concepts that they use to make them successful, now that they're successful, you can see their success in the way they brand the market. Kleenex is another one. Kleenex is just a facial tissue, but you call every facial tissue a Kleenex now, because even though it might be a different brand or whatever, Kleenex has dominated the market where you use it and then you call it a Kleenex. So that, through my research, is what I saw, and I was like, wow, that really influenced. So successful companies are identified now by the brands, and that's how successful companies work, with these concepts and these ideas, and now the branding is what you see and how they're made. So that was my paper portion of my SYP. For my project portion, I thought of this influence and how people influence culture and everything, so I was like, I want to influence culture. So I came up with an idea to make a digital magazine, and I came up with the idea because I followed these blogs and they were really influential to me. I would go to them, see what music they listen to, what they're wearing, and I would see them, I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do that, and possibly make a following for myself. So I decided to make a website, and it was a really, really unique process, because I've thought about it and I never knew how it actually worked to get the website up live. So I decided to make a team, me and my friends, because I did most of the writing and photography, I'm going to show you, but I needed some other people to keep coming up with new ideas and new content on the website, so it keeps going and people keep coming back for new material. So me and right now 4 of my friends are working on the website. They give me the stuff, they give me their like pieces, and I put it on the website. And then I had to design the website, which was a really unique experience. I've never experienced it. I used the application called WordPress, and WordPress is very effective, it's very easy to use, but it takes some time to learn. So I learned how to use WordPress, and then I designed a very easy to look at, like, simple website, because I noticed that nowadays websites are too cluttered. You don't know what to focus on. There's so much stuff going on in the website. So I wanted to make it really clean, really easy to look at, really easy to read. And then I had to use I had to go through the process of actually putting it on a web server, which was very unique. I'd never done anything like this. So I was watching TV one day, and an advertisement came up for 1-in-1, and I was like, 1-in-1 web hosting. I was like, I got to do that one day, and I ended up using 1-in-1. And then when you convert to a web server, there's a bunch of things that I never thought you needed to have, like IP address, passwords, usernames, and just a bunch of stuff. You need a program called FileZilla to take the files on your computer and convert them to the web server, which was a totally new experience. It took me 2 tries to actually get the website up because the Monday we came back from vacation, I wanted to put the website up like a big bang and have everybody look at it. But I didn't know that when you set up your website that it takes 24 hours for them to get some space for you. So I was like, oh wow. So it actually took longer than I expected. But I finally got up the website, and here what it looked like. Here is the home page of the website. It's called Empty Space because the URL is actually called emptytribe.com because me and my friends, I call them the tribe because we always hang out together, and this is what we do. So we come up with these great ideas, and then Empty Space is where you can go and look at these ideas. So this is the main page. Whenever I post a new article, this is it gets a blown up picture on the top, and then you can click on that and it takes you further in. But below it is all past articles that we have done. So my digital magazine has four categories, which are adventures, fashion, film, and music. So the reason I incorporated adventures into my magazine is because I believe that when people look at magazines, they want to see something they don't see every day. They want to see, when people look at National Geographic, they want to see what Australia looks like. They want to see what Brazil looks like. So I decided to incorporate this because when people look at magazines, they want to see something unique. So one of my friends traveled to Jordan over the break, and I was like, ooh, while you're there, snap a couple photos and I'll put it on my website. And he had a great trip, and he came back with great pictures, and I put it on my website just to show that people that what else they could see in the world, just like National Geographic and all these big other big magazines. Another thing that's really cool with my website is if you see something on the website that you like or you enjoy, there's at the end of each article there's more articles that you may be interested in. So and they're broken up into the categories, but as I get more content, they're going to be broken up into even subcategories. So like say my music, in the archives of the music, say if you specifically like rock, there's going to be there's a rock article and there's the good music and you're, ooh, this is good. And when you scroll down, there are going to be more rock songs. So I really like that. That was a cool little design that WordPress allowed me to do. And then my next category is fashion. Last Friday, I set up a fashion shoot for any kid who wanted to come out in Newton North. I set up in the TV production studio, and it was a very, very unique experience because after high school and when I go to college, I want to be a professional photographer. So I wanted to set up this shoot, and it was really a unique experience because I didn't know how much light was incorporated in photography. So, and the TV production room was a great studio because we had a specialist who knew how to set up the lights perfectly, and then he set up the lights perfectly, and then we sat in there all day just snapping photos, and then after you snap photos, you think they're great. And when you see these professional photographers' photos, you're like, wow, these are really good. I wonder how he got that shot, and this and that. But then I figured out that taking the pictures is one thing, but then after the way you develop and edit photos is a whole nother process. And I used an application called Lightroom. And Lightroom lets you manipulate the photos where you can change. It's so specific that you can change the color of somebody's t-shirt on the picture. So when I took these photos and I looked at them, I looked back at them, I noticed that there was almost like a reddish orange tint on them, and it was because the lights were like they had a filter that they were using for their set, the next block. But I went to Lightroom and I was able to take that out and make it look really crystal clear. And here's the preview. And then not only did I have a preview, but I'm taking each individual like grouping of photos of the person and making it its own post, as in this one. Nope. Where that rolled up. Another thing that's really interesting on a unique feature on this website is that when you say you're looking and you're just kind of just going through the post, you can click on these arrows, these circle arrows that I've added, to just go through the post individually, where you don't have to search for it. If you're just reading, you're like, okay, and then what was the next post? And then you click this. It's really efficient, so you don't have to go somewhere to look for other posts. But it's not specific. Say if you're looking just for music, you would just go in the music category, or films, you go in the films category. But if you want to look at the broad spectrum and see what all the posts are like, you can easily scroll between the posts one by one. And then the next category I worked on is films. When I was giving my informal presentation, one of my good friends, Enrique, came up to me. He was like, "Hey, Mike, I really like to write about film reviews. I maybe want to do this in college. I was wondering if I wrote a couple film reviews, would you put it on my website? I mean, put it on your website?" And I was like, "Absolutely. I don't see anybody who wants to come up and write for my website. It's more content for the website, and it gets more exposure because that kid has something on the website. So he's going to tell his friends that it's on the website. They're going to go to the website, and then there's just going to network. There's going to become more vast." And here is his review about a movie that I never even heard of, which is called Attack the Block. But it seems like a very fascinating film, just because his review, and it was kind of funny. I was reading his review and I was like, wow, I want to see this movie now. So it was almost like I was using my website and it was like influencing me, even though it's my website, which was very fascinating. And then another thing that I incorporated is that when these writers, photographers do a piece on my website, I give them credit and I link either their name to either a Facebook page or Twitter page for, you never know, that somebody's going to need, maybe somebody's looking at the website who's like, oh, I really like how I like his pictures. Maybe I needed this fashion shoot to be done, so I'm going to hire him. And if he looks at who took the images and it's linked, he can go straight to where he can contact that person. So whoever knows, somebody might get money, but that's not the entire goal. It's just something to keep in mind. And then I have a place set up for music, and this was a really cool category because I was looking at music blogs and looking where people are talking about the latest rap artist or the latest rock band that's out. And the thing that I like that I saw on some of them is that when you go to one, you'll read about it, but right there, when you're reading about it, you could also listen to the track. Let's see if it... Oh. So as you're like, so you don't have to like go search it on YouTube. It's right there in front of you. So you can listen to the track and read about it and you're like, ooh, I like this. So, and then you can go buy it on iTunes or buy it in your local record company. Okay, and another thing a great experience that I experienced while doing my website is that last month I was contacted by a former New North student named Mark Ward. He graduated in '09, and he goes to Berklee College of Music, and he just graduated, and he has a band. And he was like, hey Mike, I heard you're doing this online magazine, and I was wondering if you could come by a show and bring your camera and take a couple photos. I'm like, sure, I mean, why not? I don't have anything else to do. So I stopped by the Davis Square Theater where he was performing, and it was an awesome experience because I went down and I went to the teller or whatever, and he was like, oh, $5, and I was like, oh, because I didn't bring any money because I wasn't expecting it. And it was funny, Mark was coming right behind me, and he goes, oh, he's with the band, and I got in for free. And that was just a warming experience. You're like, oh, I never had that experience where you walk in, you're like, I'm with the band, and you just keep going. And then, so I went in with him, he set up, and then they played their music, and I didn't know. I never listened to him. I didn't know what to expect. I knew Mark, but I didn't know how musically gifted he was. So here is his group is called Biscuits and Gravy. It's made up of 5 Berkeley graduates, Berkeley College of Music graduates, and here's one of their tracks.
But the song stays steady flow all through their mouth, 'cause they know they'll find a match made when they serenade, serenade, serenade. Spring is coming fast, I better get my trip up or I'll be the last bird flying with another bird and that's other words singing all the songs.
So this is their song. It was unbelievable when I heard it. I was like, wow, these guys are actually like good, because there's so many people who make music nowadays and you're not sure about them, but these guys were pretty legit. So I was in the club running around with my camera taking a bunch of photos, and here are some of them. And then the best experience afterwards was I met their manager. The manager came up to me and he was like, oh, I noticed you were running around taking pictures, and he was like, can I speak to you for a minute? I was like, sure, I don't see why not. And then he was like, well, you obviously know this band's pretty good, but the one thing they don't have is publicity. They don't have like headshots, they don't have group shots, they don't have action shots, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what are you trying to get at? He was like, I was wondering if you would like to be the band's photographer. And I was like, absolutely. So now, whenever they have shows, I am with the band. So I run around with them, and it's awesome, because like, these guys, I do not doubt them that they'll be on iTunes sooner than you think. So this is one of the great experiences that I've had while doing this website, and I guess that's it to end it. Thanks for coming. Absolutely.
I noticed when you put on the music from the soundtrack, maybe the rules have changed, but do you still need to get permission from the artist to have it on your website?
Yes. The way you get permission from the artist is you purchase it on iTunes. So when you purchase it on iTunes, you own it, and then you could put it wherever you want. And the thing about this is I'm not putting it out where you can download it. You only can listen to it on my website. So I'm not distributing it. So that's why it's fair game, because you're only listening to it.
Okay, so you purchase it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you.
No problem.
What about protecting your own work?
Protecting my own work. I don't know about that per se, like my photos and everything. I haven't really looked that deep into it because I wasn't really worried about that, but as my website gets more popular, I will look into what copyrights and how, so I can like copyright my name so people can't use it. But just for my SYP, I haven't looked into that much. Good question.
And if you're the one who's taking the pictures, you might want to put that the pictures were taken by you.
I did label that at the bottom of my thing, Words and Images by Michael C. Thorpe.
What's your big, hairy, audacious goal?
My big, hairy, great question. My big, hairy, audacious goal is to really, because my big, hairy, audacious goal is, everybody talks about New York City. Like when you're on the East Coast, you're like, oh, New York City is where it's at. If you want to make it, you go to New York. It's the best city on the East Coast. Sorry. So I was like, why isn't Boston considered that? So my website is, my big, hairy, audacious goal is actually to show the greatness of Boston through my website almost. I want to go to Boston, find all the shops, find all the, the restaurants that are very unique to Boston, and take pictures of them, interview the owners and the workers, and show what's so great about Boston. That within Retro Scream is my big, hairy, audacious goal, and I plan to do that entire summer. So I plan to be running around with my camera. If you see me running around with my camera in Boston, honk at me, and you know that I'm going to be trying to put Boston on the map, even though it's already on the map, but I want to make it a popular city just as popular as New York City is. That is my big, hairy, audacious goal.
Just what's going to make your work stand out or your work different than what other people have done similar to what you do?
That's a great experience. Great question. I feel like my work is going to be, when you look at my website, it's going to have, it's going to like talk to you as if you're a student, or like it's going to really, I feel like my website is going to really relate to people and around Boston and my age, because some websites you go to are like, they talk in a language that you quite don't understand, because it's like they've been doing it for a while. You look on my website and you see little grammar errors, and you're like, oh, this kid, it's just as a kid. So he does what I do. He wakes up in the morning, goes to school. I want to go look back at this kid. I want to keep coming to this kid to see what he's doing, and oh, he likes the music I like. And so I think the way that's going to set me apart is because I'm going to be relatable to the other people who look on my website. No problem. I feel like everybody is setting up a blog.
What's the difference?
The difference between a website and a blog is where it's a static page on the front, and it's just always having new posts. A website is more developed. Website has more layers than a blog. So I decided to make a website because when people look at blogs, they're like, okay, you scroll down the front page and you click on next and you scroll down that page. So I want it to be more like where you look at it, you're like, oh, this kid actually cares about what he's doing because he's putting more work. He's putting categories. He's putting where you go into it, and then you look around and then you go in deeper and deeper. For my website, I plan on looking for another web designer to make a new layout. So it's like when you go into the music archives, it's a whole different experience than when you go into the film archives. So another one of my big, hairy, audacious goals is to make the website almost as if it's like a virtual reality when you go into it. So that's the difference between a website and a blog, and that's why I chose a website over a blog, because I feel like a blog wouldn't be challenging enough, because you would just post it and then it's there, and then you post it again, then you post it again. It's like kind of redundant. That's why. I've thought about it. I follow a couple blogs, and but the blogs that I follow, they have like ideas where it's like it's a one idea that pushes the blog forward. Like one blog I follow is called the Burning House Project, and the Burning House Project is an idea where if your house was burning down, what items would you take? And then you take all these items you would take, and then you set them up and then you take a picture of them, and then you send them to the Burning House Project, and they put them up on the blog. So if I would make a blog, I would definitely make a project like that, in some way make it where people interact with the blog. It's not just me posting, it's other people giving me information, and then me posting on the blog. That, if I would make a blog, I would make it that way.
Or for empty space, are they the same?
Well, in companies, a cult is like you have to be this sort of way, you have to think this sort of way, and you have to do a certain thing. In the tribe, I wouldn't say that. I want to be, the tribe, I want to be as diverse as ever. I want to have like kids who love punk rock to like write about punk rock. I don't want to be like, all right, you want to write on my blog website, you have to write about this. I want to give freedom. So I think cult is like where everybody does the same thing to be successful. But in my website for my tribe, I think everybody brings their unique own self, and then that will make it successful for being so unique.
If I could push it there a little bit, so are you redefining the notion of cult, or
In a way, yeah.
are you rejecting the concept of cult?
I think for a company that's trying to do something so specific, the cult aspect is very useful. But I think in what I am doing, I think I do reject the idea, because I don't want everybody to be the same. I want everybody to be different. I want people to think. I want people to go to the movies not to go see the Avengers, but to go see the foreign film that's playing. I want kids to go, when they go shopping, not to go to Urban Outfitters, and instead go thrifting and get unique clothes that aren't at big corporation shops. So for my website, I am rejecting the whole cult theory.
How do I sign up for trial?
I do. I am thinking about setting up a mailing list for a few individuals, and if you want to be on the mailing list, I will set you up for it. Yes.
Can you explain that concept of the interpreter again?
Yes, absolutely. So Roberto Verganti came up with this idea that when you look at a product, you think of the product in your own sort of way. So the interpreter is a human being that comes from anything. Say an architect is looking at a computer. What is an architect going to do with a computer? He is going to look at it and see how it's shaped, if it's round edges or straight edges, and then let's say a hand doctor is going to look at a mouse of the computer, and he's going to think about how the mouse fits in your hand, if it works with your hand, if it's comfortable and stuff like that. So these are the interpreters, and so companies go out to find interpreters, and then they send the interpreters the products, and like, oh, what do you think about this product? How would you make this product? And it's really an abstract thought, because it's almost like, well, you're the company, you should be thinking about this product, but instead they're going out and getting help to think about the product in almost a deeper form, so they can make their product better. That's the whole concept about the interpreters. No problem. Yes.
So, who is your target audience, and how do you drive your target audience to your website?
Okay, my target audience is people in the Boston and the suburbs of Boston, and what really drive. Well, I didn't really want to go the social media way. Is like where the social media way of getting your whatever you do out is really just like going on Facebook and going on Twitter and always talking about it. Even though I do those things, I want the way I decided to go about getting my website out is more just going up and talking to people, and then saying, and they're like, oh, have you seen this on blah 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 website? And then we talk about it, and they're like, oh, okay. And then another, so it's almost word of mouth to get my website out. And then another way that I'm really going to try to get my website out is by bringing people in to work on my website, because as I talked before about the networking, when that kid works on his on my website, he has a piece on the website, so he's like, oh, check out this website because I wrote on it, and then his friend, he's going to tell his friends, and his friends are going to tell his friends. So I feel like the more people I get to actually put pieces on the website, and they're going to tell their friends, so that's how it's going to network out. So that's how my plan is to get my advertising out.
So your target audience is mostly high school students to
Mhm.
college students?
Yes, yes.
So there wouldn't be anybody after a certain age?
Well,
Or are you going to have a whole separate website for baby boomers?
I don't. To be honest, I don't know how I would go about that. I feel like I have shown a couple baby boomers per se the adventures category, and they really enjoyed how the adventures, because some of them gone have been to these places and some want to go to these places, so they see it and they're like, ooh, I really like that. So I think this part of my website would be the most intriguing for the baby boomer generation. And another thing I think is that I'm gonna, as more music I develop, I am gonna set up a category for older music, like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and all those. So that might be another way that the baby boomer generation would look at my website. The oldies, yes.
This baby boom is requesting a little more biscuits and gravy.
They're very good. They are performing this month, the end of this month, in Boston. I am not sure the dates, but I will be posting it on my website if you want to see.
So your website is accessible to everybody?
It is accessible to everybody. It is www.emptytribe.com, and when you click on that, it will take you right to this page. Oh,
Tribe, not empty space.
yes, the URL is different from the title on the website. And another thing that I just saw when I was there is I set up this search bar. So if you know a specific thing you saw before on the website, and if there's so much content that like it's going to take a while to find it, you can actually search it and find it yourself. So that is really accessible.
That's time for maybe one, maybe two questions.
All right.
As a photographer, your goal to be a photographer, what?
Yes, my goal, next year I'm going to Emerson College, and my goal at Emerson is to major in photography and literature, and I felt that this website really gave me a chance to actually do both those things, because I'm going out and taking pictures and then editing them, and then I'm writing about the experience that I had in that. So I'm getting best of both worlds, and then I'm getting criticism about the writing or the pictures. So it's like, even no matter what kind of criticism you get, all criticism is good. So I'm already in the environment that I want to be in later in life. So yes.
What's your preference for photography? What you say, fashion, athletics, sports, like what? Music, food?
I don't really have a preference, because the way I am as a human being, I dive into all these elements of life, and when I dive into these elements, I like to take pictures of them. So I don't really have a preference. I just like taking pictures of everything.